Join me today as we talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew Episode 6. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name's Bobbie, and yeah, that's snow on the window, by the way, there. It's a little bit cold out today. I would be recording inside the house, except all the warm spots where I could possibly record, people presently occupy, so here we are, outside, in the snow, in the cold. Kind of like the cold of space. Or Hoth, for a more accurate Star Wars reference. There we go. Maybe Renvar, for those of you that played the Battlefront games. Yeah, so, enough of that. Episode 6. Okay, so before I say anything about this episode and the show in general, I believe I have made it abundantly clear that I am no shill for Disney, that I despise approximately half of what they have made as far as Star Wars, and but at the same time I am like stupidly optimistic that somehow they can fix things, even though deep down I know that's probably not going to happen. Having said all that, this was a good episode. This was the kind of episode that I've been expecting for a while, because there's 8 episodes, this is episode 6, so we are approximately at that point where things kind of get real, and tempers kind of flare, and people kind of have it out a little bit, and we get some character growth. There's going to be more than one comparison to the Goonies here. This is, I think, the closest approximation this has to something in the Goonies, because there's something that's directly a ripoff of the Goonies. Like, there's no possible way it's not. This less so, but if anything, this episode is kind of like the fountain scene, or the wishing well scene, where they're down there and where Mouth kind of lays into everybody, and about the whole, like, I made my wish, this is my coin right here, I made it didn't come true, so I'm taking it back, taking them all back. And it's kind of one of those moments, where, yeah, it's been kind of adventure up to this point. Yeah, maybe the Fratellis could kill him, maybe they won't. There's the booby traps, but like, this is the emotional moment, and this episode bears a lot of resemblance to that. So, as with the others, I'm going to be spoiling the whole episode, so if you don't want to hear it, turn back now. Just know that I think this was a really good episode. Not the greatest thing Star Wars ever related. That's the throne room scene in Return of the Jedi, whenever Vader finally does the right thing and murders the Emperor to save his son. But yeah, no, this is one of the better Disney produced moments. I'll put it that way. Or the show, the episode. So, the episode opens with the kids sliding down the slide. This is the scene that is directly ripped off from the Goonies, where all of them somehow enter the same slide but pop out of different spots. Like, literally, as I'm watching the scene, I could hear the song from the Goonies, the orchestral music that's playing whenever they're all sliding down the slides just before they get to One-Eyed Willie's ship. And even like that, even though they all had to have fallen down the same trap door, they all come out of different spots on a wall here, different pipes. And then they have it out, because Fern wants to, they're now like at the bottom of the ravine, and Fern wants to scale the sheer rock face to go back to the ship. Wim, hopefully I finally remember the kids' names now. Wim is like, no, that's stupid, like, we'll fall, like, what are you doing? And Neil kind of agrees with Fern, and then, oh man, what's the other girl's name? Well, I have 3 of the kids' names memorized. Yeah. Oh, that is going to bother me. Hang on, folks. Okay, so the other girl is KB. So she is trying to tell Fern, like she's trying to tell Fern that she can't go on, that she definitely can't make that climb, but she doesn't know how to tell her. And so she's having a real like kind of crisis moment, and Fern just isn't seeing it, because Fern's all, hey, we've got to go, we've got to do our thing. And so Fern and Neil split up to go climb, and Wim and KB follow these weird like trash creatures that they found, kind of like scavenger crabs. They're like picking up trash, and because Wim thinks maybe they can find a way out that way. So they do their thing, and while this is happening, Jude Law's character is being taken into custody by the pirates, and like security kind of shows up, so they got to make a run for it, but they still grab him. He tries to start telling this tale of all those, like, oh, down here's where all the treasure is, and then he's like, get him, SM-33, and he tries to do his thing, and he gets shot, and they just take him out. So they bring him, and also, all this time, I didn't realize one of the pirates is played by Jaleel White. So Steve Urkel is one of the pirates. I thought he looked familiar this whole time, but I finally looked up the cast, and yeah. So anyway, they take him. Then the kids see like the X-Wings chasing them, and Wim's like, oh, those are X-Wings, like what's her face told us. And like they're chasing the pirates, like well, they were chasing us earlier, and you know, Wim's like, no, like I think they're the good guys. So he's figured out that like Jude Law's characters, the other guys, like they're definitely not the good guys here. So he's figured that out, probably due to the double cross. So they go their separate ways, and as Wim and KB are going along, KB like starts like shutting down, and she's talking about how Fern doesn't understand that other people just can't keep up with her and can't do the same thing she can. And KB mentions that she had an accident, and that explains why she has the cybernetics, which I didn't realize until this episode were as extensive as they were. I thought it was just like something to allow the visor, and I thought it was just, you know, some add-on that was some optional thing. And but no, she talks about an accident, like Wim has to fix something in the back of her head, so she actually has a thing like Lobot going all the way around her head, and he has to pull a part of it out and like melt some stuff down and replace this piece because the all the steam and everything corroded it. And she's used to being able to do maintenance on her own stuff, and she hasn't been able to do that this whole time. And like Fern doesn't accept that like KB has limitations, that she's not as gung-ho, and especially since her accident. And KB doesn't know how to tell her that, you know, because KB doesn't have any other friends, and she doesn't want to lose Fern as a friend. So it's a real, you know, it's a heartfelt moment. And then once Wim fixes everything, and she kind of reboots, and you know, he's worried that she's dying and everything, or that she dies, because she kind of shuts down, because he's like, what happens if I don't fix this? And she's like, well, total system failure, which, if we're talking about your brain, like that's probably fatal. And then she like powers back up, and you know, he's glad she's alive, and she's like, I bet you didn't think saving someone's life would be so boring. And like it sinks in, and you seem like it's kind of sinking into him that he knows that he saved her life. And again, one of those like, this is an important character moment where, you know, it's really starting to drive home that like they could be killed here. That like, yeah, this is all fun and adventure, but like maybe this might prove fatal before it's done with. So I think he's all on board for the whole, like, yeah, I just want to go home. So, the two of them are going along, and then the little crab people lead him to this giant crab that's going to eat them. And Wim realizes that, yeah, he probably shouldn't have listened to the little crab people. Meanwhile, Fern is having to put up with the fact that Neil really isn't all that great at climbing, and Neil's trying to tell her this because he's shorter, so he can't reach all the rungs, and so she has to figure out a way to get him along. So she ends up, you know, building a harness around her and him so that he can't fall. And then they see that that they're taking the ship and they're gonna, take it and scrap it, is what it looks like. So they have to jump onto the ship as it goes by. And then the other two see him coming in hot, and the ship ends up crashing because they take out one of the transports that are pulling or something, and yeah, then they're into some other problems. But while all this is happening, Jude Law's character has been brought to the pirate court, where his former second in command, the Chistavanian, I think is what they're called, Wolfman, is basically like, well, you've been found guilty. We're sentencing you to death by airlock. And Jude Law's character is, well, I want to invoke my right to, I think it was equal time. And so the Wolfman turns over an hourglass, like, all right, go for it. And so basically he tells them, yeah, I messed up. I promised you guys this, and I didn't deliver. But now I can, because I know where this Republic Mint is. And he just throws him a Republic credit. And he's like, that's real. You can check it. And you can clearly tell that's new. So I know where they're still making these things. And it's undefended. We can go get it. Then we can all have everything we'd ever want. So the pirate's like, all right, let's follow him again. And the second in command, like, kind of takes him over to the airlock, like, you're a smooth talker, like, you fail us again, though, like, and he looks out the window and he opens up the airlock and blasts the stuff that's out in space, and he's like, that's what's going to happen if you don't follow through. So, but he has the coordinates, but KB also has the coordinates because of her implant thing, so they're up here. So the kids get all back aboard the ship, but there's like a scavenger thing that's kind of crawling through all the trash that's just gobbling things up and incinerating it, and it gets a hold of the ship and starts to pull it in. And there was a thing in the as previously seen on Skeleton Crew that reminded you that Jude Law warned them there's a button not to ever, or no, the robot told them don't ever push this button because it would like explode the hull or something. And they're like, well, we've got no choice here. So they hit the button, and like a bunch of panels on the hull explode, which allows them to free like the slightly smaller ship concealed within the larger ship, which looks a lot sleeker and everything, and they take off with it. And so now they're on their way because they also have the coordinates. Oh, and Fern and KB and Wim and Neil all make up, because they get there and Fern's like, I shouldn't have ever taken off without you guys. And KB's like, I should have told you my problems. And Wim's like, no, Fern, like, you saved us. Like, we shouldn't have gone this way. Neil's just like, I'm glad everyone's alive. So they all had their reconciliation moment. And so now they've hashed it out. They're all on the same page now. And now we've got 2 episodes left. So see where things go. I still am pulling for Jude Law to double cross the rest of the pirates. Don't know if it'll happen. I've got the feeling it might be circumstances where they just double cross him. Where they're like, yeah, you brought us all the gold, but like, let's have one less share because you did kind of screw us before. Like I fully expect something like that to happen. Or like they'll get a bunch of the money and ride off into the sunset, and something to that effect. So I don't know where we go with the season 2, because I think they kind of have to get home here for everything to make sense. Unless season 2 is entirely like fighting off the pirates or something. I don't know. But we'll see. We got 2 episodes left. So like I said, I thought this one was a good episode. And I am continually baffled, like, Disney makes just all the crap, and then they make this. And like, why didn't you make this way back towards the beginning, like between a couple of the movies, and like to start drawing in kids so that they would want to go to the movies, and have that younger audience, because like I think kids would like this. So I don't know, it's just one in a string of bad decisions by Disney. I hear the ratings aren't great for this, but all the reviews are saying it's good. So, similar to Andor, which, minor side note, apparently Andor cost somewhere around $500 million to make. That is insane. Like, in the interest of intellectual honesty, I have to comment on that. since I did the Acolyte, even though I didn't like the Acolyte. But I liked Andor, but like, good Lord, what the hell did they spend that money on? I mean, I know it's more episodes, it's 12 episodes, and it looked movie quality. But like, good Lord, $500 million. That's silly. Like, I don't know how anyone at Disney still has a job. Like, objectively speaking, they have to be losing money hand over fist. And I don't know how the board keeps these people on. I don't know how the shareholders keep the board. I don't know how any, like all the rules of capitalism have just like flown out the window at Disney apparently. So I can only assume it's because they're getting a lot of money from BlackRock and whatever the hell the other big one is, Vanguard. So, and they like what they're seeing, I guess. I don't know. That's the only thing I can figure. But yeah, the show's been good so far. Episode 6 is great. Disney's still got 2 episodes to completely screw it up, but I don't think they're going to. Hopefully. And again, you know, I really don't view this as shilling. I think it's a legitimately decent show. And I've been more than willing to call out the crap. Like, I've got a whole series on how the Acolyte was terrible. I've got various videos talking about how the sequel trilogy is awful. So, like, I'm no Disney shill. They're not sending me anything. But, yeah. If you haven't been burned out by Disney, like, check this out. Here's hoping the last 2 episodes are good. But, yeah, other than that, that's all I got, folks. So, you know, let me know down in the comments what you think. If you've been watching the show, you think it's good, think it's bad, think it's going to somehow crap the bed here in the last 2 episodes. I think it's going to be a season 2, you know, what have you. Yeah, so any kind of comments you got along those lines. Can you figure out how Andor cost $500 million? But yeah, other than that, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting help us grow the channel. We always appreciate it. But just remember, the Force will be with you always.